This is Benjamin Bass from Insider Travel Report, sitting across from Mark Nolan, General Manager of the infamous Dromoland Castle here in County Clare, Ireland. Mr. Nolan, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm delighted to be with you, and it's a beautiful sunny day in County Clare. But what else could you get that would be better?
Yeah, it's stunning. The grounds here are absolutely magnificent. So obviously where we're staying has a tremendous history, most likely too much for one single interview. So I was wondering, to begin with, if we could talk a little bit about some brief history of where we are, as well as perhaps its evolution in becoming the five-star luxury hotel that it is today.
Yeah, absolutely. Delighted to. Dromoland Castle was the stronghold of the O'Brien family, direct descendants of the first High King of Ireland. Brian Boru was killed in the Battle of Clontarf at 1014. And the Chief O'Brien still lives on the estate in Thomond House. So it's a lovely thing to have, because apparently in New York there's 40,000 Irish Americans with the O'Brien as their name. So we've targeted that in the past and done very well. But it's and Connor comes down and chats with the people. So it's a real nice sense of deep history of really where it's at. So move on a couple of hundred years, and it was a castle lived in by Lord Inchiquin. The current owner of the title, his uncle had no boys in their family. Yeah. So the title transferred, because you couldn't transfer it to a female at the time. So it transferred. So he got it somewhat by default. But he came back. He was based in the Middle East, and he came back to run Thomond Estate. And we celebrate our 50th birthday as a hotel about 5 years ago. Wow. So at the time, he sold it then to a gentleman from West Virginia called Bernard McDonough. And he was a real entrepreneur and benefited greatly during the war years. He used to make armaments and things like that. But he loved Ireland, and he built a lot of hotels in this region. And he was kind of coaxed by a great entrepreneur down here to come and look at the castle, because at the time it was like castles were at the time. There was no investment. The lord and ladies had no money. So he came and looked at it, and he built this five-star castle. And his objective at the time, that it would be purely for Americans. Shannon, you had flights compulsory stop over into Shannon. Now you probably weren't even alive, but you had to land. If you were coming from North America into Ireland, you had to compulsory land in Shannon before you could even go on to Dublin, the capital. So there was it was like shooting fish in a barrel. It was easy. We're 10, 15 minutes away from the airport, so it worked incredibly well. But it was all for Americans, and of course that compulsory stopover finished up about 10, 15 years ago. So now we're much more a multinational European business, quite a few other market segments, and the Irish market has been very good to us over the years as well.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of history, we were taking a tour of the facility the other day and stopped in Charlotte & Co., which is, I believe, a newer venture, right? Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Charlotte & Co. was Lady Charlotte was one of the Inchiquin family, the O'Brien family, originally. And the O'Briens were very good with the locals in this community, and they taught them different skills. A lot of them worked on their farm, because they would have, originally the estate would have been 2,500 acres. It was huge. It would have encompassed quite a few villages in the area. But Lady Charlotte taught a lot of the local girls how to knit and sew. And this was the sewing room. And they would show, and she'd sew the craft. So we thought it was a lovely kind of backstory to our shop, that Charlotte & Co. would be somewhat the story of the shop. And all our produce, without exception, are up-and-coming Irish designers. And we have absolutely capped that. Now, there may be one or two exceptions where we can't fill a particular product line we need. But by and large, we try to keep it very much Irish and Irish designers. And it's wonderful because we have kind of fashion shows throughout the year where we kind of feature some up and coming people. We love to see that kind of side of it. But that was the kind of story to the shop.
So Mark, one of the things that I wanted to discuss was obviously there's some incredible cuisine here. I wanted to know if you could give us some examples of what types of dining experiences guests can hope to experience, as well as perhaps how the food that's presented is reflective of the Irish experience.
Sure, absolutely. Lots of dining options. And again, I suppose in the last couple of years, you know, in terms of changing to meet the customer demands, and we do a lot of research into that, but certainly the very formal dining, we see less and less as people, and of course that's related to multi-generational travel. But the Earl of Thomond is our fine dining restaurant, and it's wonderful, the main room in the castle, and it has wonderful Waterford crystal chandeliers and hand-woven Venetian silk. But it's a nice merger. About half the team are French and half the team are Irish. So there's a lovely European-Irish kind of crossover on that. We try, where possible, to use locally sourced produce. Sometimes it just doesn't work because our climate doesn't lend itself to growing exotic fruits and things like that. But we do really work very hard in the Earl of Thomond to make sure that experience. And we do a fabulous tasting menu, which, if you have the time, it's worthwhile doing. But it is time. We've just reopened our Fig Tree restaurant, which is down our Golf and Country Club. And that's more kind of all day kind of, but again, it's very much based on kind of locally sourced foods. And it's available to do brunch, lunch, and then kind of different dining experience in the evening. And then a very popular thing here is the gallery, because people, when they come to the castle, they say, we want to stay in the castle, we want to dine. So we've got that. And then the very famous Mrs. White's afternoon tea, which is served in the Earl of Thomond restaurant. Mrs. White was one of our great employees. So we've named a lot of things from people that have been part of our journey to get where we are today. So plenty of kind of opportunities in that. In terms of the building itself, even though it's a castle, there are 97 guest bedrooms here, and they're broken down from the presidential suite to suite staterooms. And staterooms is a category because, as you can imagine, a castle has these very high vaulted ceilings. And so the stateroom is, the sitting room is within the bedroom. So it's a very nice feature, and you get that real period feeling, particularly in the castle rooms. But I think we've been very lucky. We've had a couple of different interior designers over the years who have great empathy for the kind of period feel. And we will go to great lengths where we can to source Irish fabrics. All the carpets, this is new carpet. This is made in the north of Ireland, Ulster carpets. All the fabrics here, with the exception of one, are milled down in Cork. So we do consciously try and make sure that we do source locally where we can.
Any upcoming renovations? I understand that you have a spa that should be absolutely fabulous. Yeah. Would you like to bring us in about that project?
Yeah, we've had a spa, as you can imagine, but we felt about 2 years ago that we just felt it didn't hit the note, because we've been investing over the years. We've been upgrading bedrooms. Our Golf and Country Club that we just reopened after a major refurbishment, and we felt the spa had just fallen back a little bit. And I think from a product point of view, so we're delighted. I was hoping we'd have the spa open for you guys to have a look at, but it is going to be beautiful, and we're just about there. We've about another 2 weeks work to do, but we've Dr. Barbara Sturm, we've a product that's going to be unique to us in Ireland, and the whole experience is going to be completely different. It's going to be very much like a concierge service. You're going to be met at your bedroom and escorted down to the facility where you'll do all the kind of early kind of registration bits. But the whole thing will be an absolute journey experience. And I'm just so looking forward to, because it was the one thing that I was concerned about, that I just felt we needed to get, a little bit more sharp in how we do it. And that goes from the product to the highly trained therapists, of which will be doubling in numbers. And it's just, and the whole, they're so bought into the journey, they're just so looking forward to open. They're itching to go.
It seems like there's been such a tremendous investment and intention regarding partnering with the local community. For instance, yesterday we took a beautiful tour of J.J. Corey's whiskey headquarters, which was just stunning. It was incredible. And the history and the storytelling and the whiskey itself was just world class. So are there other endeavors or community partnerships that you have that guests can hope to experience during their stay here?
Yeah, I mean, we have taken on a sustainability manager who oversees our whole development in this area, because as you can imagine with the castle, it can be quite challenging. So we have tried to introduce quite a few ecosystems in place. Our aspiration is to discontinue single-use plastics by the end of 2023. We aspired to last year, but it just wasn't realistic in terms. COVID has been a major impact in that, that people have just got whatever they can, and then the whole objective. But yes, there's certainly a lot of that. We partner a lot with the local school, and our chef, we do cookery days, about one every quarter. So they come up, they meet Dorothy, our head gardener. Did you get to, I don't know if you met to meet Dorothy.
We'll meet her today, I think.
Oh, you're meeting her, yeah. Oh, yeah, and you're doing Falcon, you're meeting Big David. But anyway, she has been a wonderful person, both from an education point of view with the local school, but we have a local disabled college in Ennis, and we have 2 students at all times working. Now, they are quite closely supervised by Dorothy, but they're wonderful. They have a wonderful attitude. So, and they'll meet them in the garden, and quite a few people wander around the garden and just kind of bump into Dorothy. She's always around there, and she'll give the chat and just tell you all about what she's doing from that point of view. We do get involved as well a lot with our local community. I think we have 5 teams of Meals on Wheels. Myself and my wife do our term every Wednesday, which we love doing. And it's funny, people are saying, gosh, I just love doing it. And what, it's not a big effort and it's not a big deal, but you kind of feel you're making some kind of contribution. And we work closely with them in terms of Uber is in the village. It's a whole production kitchen that was built by government supports, and the idea was to train chefs. Now, that opened literally the week we closed down, the world closed down for COVID. So there was a 2-year, but now we're working on programs with them to bring kids that are, not so much disadvantaged, but just haven't had the opportunity to be educated, to try and train them to become chefs. And our executive chef comes down and does some cooking lessons with them, our pastry chef. So there's quite a nice involvement with that. The other thing that's nice to see is our tree planting program. And I don't know if you noticed that actually we're working on the gate at the front entrance at the moment, at the front, as you come in the main gate, we're planting, for every tree we fell, we plant 12. So there's quite an afforestation. At this stage, we have so much tree, we're nearly at the stage of saying, gosh, we need to look at how we can use them. We did have wood chip burning. All our energy was from wood chip, which worked very well. We used chip. And then we ran into logistical challenges, but we still have a very efficient system that it generates a lot of our electricity as well as the heat in the castle as well. So quite a few kind of nice things that are going on with our community. We're blessed with the people we have. Between our property, we've about 250 staff. We've 1 staff member for each guest at least, and we're nearer 1.5 now, because we certainly see the whole thing has become so much personalised experience. People, and again, I don't want to keep on talking about COVID, but you can see quite a change in people's attitude. They now want to experience all the estate activities. And that's one area we're presenting to our board next year, or next week, should I say, is we brought on a commercial manager who's looking at developing the estate to have more activities. We have archery, clay target, and you'll experience all those. But to go a little bit further, so last year we bought a farmyard, which is literally 5 minutes walk. It's just beside our golf academy. So we're developing that with a view to doing some kind of farm. So we've been talking with some local farmers to see if we could actually do a managed farm up there and reopen the whole farmyard and have it as an experiential thing. One of the things you can see, well, we were talking about it earlier, about weddings. And of course, weddings now, it used to be a 1-day event. Now it's 2-day, 3-day. So we've got to be creative and look at things that we can do to develop that kind of business. We don't want it to become our main business, but we want to be able to have a really nice. So our most recent reopening was our Fig Tree Restaurant in the Golf and Country Club, and we're just developing a whole outside area there at the moment. It's been worked on. Actually, the first time we're using it is today, for a wedding, for the wedding that we had yesterday. So, but this would be another experience. It would be a farmyard experience. And we do barbecues up there, so we're working on that piece. So all the time we're trying to reinvent ourselves, very conscious that people, funny, we would find what is luxury. We've had this discussion every month. We sit down at panels and say, what is luxury? Luxury to us before was gold taps, huge chandeliers, handwovens, all that. Luxury now seems to be experiential more than, the different activities that you do in the estate. All those kind of things add real value. And I think people's values, the other thing is multi-generational travel, which is absolutely huge. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it around. I think we have 4 or 5 American families, and you can see there's 3 generations. There's the grandparents, the parents, the kids. And it's just lovely. So we need to be able to flex and be able to work out things as well that we can use as different experiences. I've just vacated my house on the estate, and we're remodeling that to have that as the week that the bride and groom can stay in the house. We will be sending chefs out. We're developing the whole facility that accommodate 12 people, all in suite accommodation. And that's going to be another part of the experience. It's right on the golf course. You have a putting green right beside the house. So you become very much the fibre of Dromoland. And I think a lot of people would say, and it's funny if you look at the guest comment book, and it's something we monitor very closely, even though it doesn't look like that. People will say the castle was lovely, we love that, but I said, what makes your place special is the people. And I would say, and I think you referenced it earlier, Ben, when you were asked about what would differentiate us from maybe like an Adair or an Ashford. And I think Adair or Ashford are stunning properties and wonderful levels of service. We would like to think we have wonderful levels of service, but it's delivered a bit more like a country home kind of feel. Everybody, and one of the nice things we have in the hotel, that we have what we call a pyramid of empowerment. And it means that every employee in this hotel can make a gesture to any guest in the hotel. And that's always because we love to try and find out as much about our guests before they arrive, because sometimes it's celebrating something that they may not have told their travel agent, or they may not. So we're always trying to infiltrate. One of the big things is chauffeur-driven cars, and we're trying to find out who the driver is. So we get into him and we say, look, you're driving down the Schombaus tomorrow. Try and find out anything about them, so they'll ring us ahead. So we'll have made a gesture in the room, because in all the years, pretty well all my life I've been in this industry, the one thing I've learned is the small gesture is the one that they'll always remember. The big gesture, like, people paying 2,000 or 3,000 to stay in a presidential suite here, don't think about that, but they will think about the glass of champagne that was sent up to celebrate their daughter's graduation from Harvard or something, when we can find out those stories. So that's what I mean. I think we kind of treat it like as a mom and pop hotel, that it's a very personalized experience. And everybody, while we absolutely understand there are minimal level of standards at this luxury 5-star level, we also treat everybody as individuals. When we interview people, we have such a training network here. We have trainers right throughout the whole hotel. We have a huge HR support as well. So when people join us, we would interview more for personality than ability. If we know people have that empathy, that kind of, and there are quite a few people. I'm amazed that we've still found some wonderful, wonderful people that would give me a nudge and say, Mr. Nolan, I just found out that those people, they're on their 50th wedding anniversary or something like that. So a gesture will go up to the room, and it's spontaneous. It's always spontaneous. But and that's what makes it special. And that, I suppose, has kept me here 34 years. No day is the same. And every day I wake up and say, okay, what can we do that's different and great?
Yesterday we took a tour around the facility with Neve, and we're checking out Charlotte & Co. And we were looking at a really beautiful pair of candles, hand-painted candles, right, with the roses. And we thought, wow, this would be really lovely for Abby, my fiance's mother. I think she would really like them. And then we had dinner and we came back, and Neve had sent us the candles into our room. Just like a beautiful example of exactly what you're talking about. We were so touched.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's lovely. Neve's wonderful. She is just And she has just got that absolute, we call it the Dromoland Special. And every Friday we have a briefing and we say, guys, don't forget the Dromoland Special. And that's just being natural, being what you are, and just wanted to please. Where our greatest joy is to see guests walking out and saying, we have had a wonderful stay. We're going to be back as soon as we can. And
that's so clear, but I think many people, when they think of luxury in terms of an experience, imagine that it's a me thing, and it doesn't really matter what's going on for the people on the other side of the table. And yet it's been very clear since we've been here. We've heard some employees have worked here 35, 40 years. There's a pair of brothers. So it's absolutely clear that it's not only the guests who are treated with exemplary care and consideration, but from every step of the ladder, everyone is looked after and treated as family. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm glad you spotted that. But I would think, our life's blood are the team that we have. Without them, we have nothing. And we really try and add value to them working here. In terms of accommodation, we've now changed to all en-suite accommodation, so you can have single or twin room. And we pay for it. There's no charge for that. There's no charge for meals. So we really treat it as a family. That is the key. And and that's when you get people to go the extra yard or to be sensitive enough. And I always say, guys, keep the antenna up. In other words, listen to what's been said. And sometimes it's not always good news. Sometimes a housekeeper can be in a bedroom and suddenly they've got some bad news about a family member or something. And they react to it, and it's that. If they're well looked after, they're going to look after it. It's been a little bit selfish in a way from my point of view, because if you look after your team well, they're going to look after your customers well. It's like dawn following dark. It just happens that way. And it works here very, very well. And I don't know what it is. And if somebody said to me, what is it, that Dromoland thing? I said, I wish I could bottle it, but I don't know what it is. But yeah, it's great. It's a lovely. The long service thing is great. Sometimes it has its challenges when you're trying to introduce a few new things. But you know what? We'll get over that and we get to do it and we develop. But it far outweighs the benefit of having such a wonderful, dedicated team to work closely together and respect each other.
Regarding the future a little bit, looking into the future. Obviously, this is a place of such historic renown, but in a culture and society where changes are manifesting so quickly, where do you see Dromoland in perhaps 5, 10, 20 years? What do you see as the future of this castle? Gosh,
it's an interesting question you ask, because it's the exact same question we're presenting. Future-proofing. We have a whole section for our board meeting next week, and it's future-proofing to 2028. And that is taking into consideration the challenge that we're going to have from, particularly from an eco point of view, where we really need to embrace. Ireland has not been good in embracing the whole piece of the energy piece. We keep burning fossil fuels, we keep doing. So that is one section of the whole thing that we see that must happen. And not only that, but I mean, from some of the other levels of business we do, or in some incentive piece of business out of North America, but they absolutely, before they even consider you as a possible venue for their business, they will look for your carbon footprint and find out exactly what you do and your contribution you make to your community. So that's something we need to, we're fairly good at it. We need to be a lot better. And that would be one thing that we would certainly towards 2028 really work on that piece and develop that out quite a bit. We also see people's changing needs, and we kind of referred to them earlier about becoming much more experiential. There's an assumption at 5-star that your bath is going to be, everything's going to work in your room, that your aircon is going to work in your room. They're things that were regarded as luxuries in the past. They're entry level now. So the whole thing is going to become much more experience-based from our point of view. And our whole investment, we're looking at something in the region of 25 million over the next 4 years, all pretty well outside, creating different walk experiences throughout the forest, looking at building some cabins as well, just for different kind of yoga retreat areas and that kind of thing. We've a huge benefit. We've an estate of 400 or 500 acres, and apart from the golf course, it really is underutilized. We should be doing a lot more, and I think that's something the board are absolutely at one with. I'm blessed with the investors I have. They're all people that just love their castle. They want it to be the best it can be, and not necessarily the best stars and all that, but they want it to be that people will have an amazing experience and come back and say, gosh, you've got to stay in Dromoland, just for all the sum of its parts. The rooms, the people, and the whole just feel that you kind of get.
Well, we can absolutely attest to that being our experience. This has been a wonderful experience. Thank you so much, Mark, for your time. I've had a wonderful time. Once again, this is Benjamin Bass from Insider Travel Report. Thank you and have a wonderful day.